Okay guys, camera ready.
Abid, are you done? Alright.
Hi!
Syah,
Oh, sorry,
this
sorry.
is a formal
Wrong place.
picture. Why
I
you
thought
bring
concert.
guitar?
Shazri.
My name is Shabru.
Hi, I'm Abid.
Hi, my name is Ori. Right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello, Assalamualaikum guys. So, question A, construct the PERT network for this project. Right, so what is PERT diagram? PERT diagram is actually a diagram which used to analyze the project's task and also estimate the time needed to complete each task in the project. Alright, so to start the PERT diagram, we must take a look at these single activities. So, as mentioned in the question, so activity A, B and C are single activities. So, we start with those activities first. Right, so we draw the node and then draw the arrows and mention the activities there. A5, B4, C8. Alright, okay, so to start a new activity, we must put a new node after the arrow. Right? Alright, okay, sorry. Okay, so as into the table of the question, okay, activity D. Activity D is produced by activity A. So after the arrow of activity A, we put the node 2 there, and then we continue drawing the arrow for activity D. Okay, so same goes to activity E, which are produced by activity B, and also activity F above here, which are produced by activity D. Okay, and then, right, so I'm gonna go sit down here. Okay, so what is that? The dotted lines. Okay, so that is called as dummy. So what is dummy? Right, so dummy is used to show the sequence of activities. Right, simply put, the dummy exists when the producer activities end at a different node. So as we can see here, to produce H, okay, the producers are D, E, C. However, they end at a different nodes. So to connect them all, we use dummy. So dummy is 0. Okay, so we draw the dotted lines from node number 4 and 5 to the center, and then we draw node number 6, and then we draw the arrow for activity H. Easy. And then activity G is produced by activity C. Okay. And then activity I is produced by activity F, H and G. So same as usual. Alright, question B. Calculate the EET and LET. So what is that? Alright, so EET and LET are the duration time of the activities for each node involved. Right, so for EET will be calculated forward from the first node to the last node. Right, so to calculate EET for each current node, we need to add the duration time of the activity starting from the EET of the first node to the last activity before the event. There are boxes for each node. So the top one is for the amount of EET and the below one is the amount for LET. As example, to calculate the EET for node number 5. Alright, so we add on the EET from the starting point, which is 0. Okay, add on with 8. Alright, so EET for the other nodes, we just calculate the same method as I explained. Now LET. LET will be calculated backwards from the last node to the first node. To get the LET of the current event, we need to minus the duration times of the activities involved from the LET of the last node. As an example, to calculate the LET of the node number 7, okay, we take the LET of the node number 8, which is 22, minus with the duration time of the activities between, which is 4, so we get 18. But then, when more than one activity involved, we need to choose the activity in which, when we minus with the LET before, we will get the smallest value among the activities leading to the event, right? As an example, before node number 7, we have activity F, H and G, which in the end we will choose H because 18 minus 6 equals to 12, which is the smallest value among those three, right? Alright, so for other nodes, we just calculate as the same method as I explained before. So that's it.
Thank you, Bukhari. So I will continue to the question C. Determine the expected completion time of the project. So the answer for this question is 22 weeks because we take the last answer from EET and LET at the diagram, which is 22 weeks. Next, questions D. So the answer for critical activities is equals to A, D, dummy, H, and I. Next, questions E. Calculate the total floats, independent floats, and free floats for activity G. Firstly, you need to take all information from activity G, and then you need to know the formula of total floats, which is total float equals to LETH minus EETT minus durations. So you can take all the information or the number you get from the activity G, put it into the formula. So you will get 18 minus 8 minus 5 equals to 5. So the answer for total float is 5 weeks. Okay, next, we will calculate the independent floats of activity G. The formula of independent float is equals to EETH minus LETT minus duration. So you will get 18 minus 12 minus 5 equals to 1. So the answer for the independent float of activity G is 1 week. And the last one, we will calculate free float of activity G. The formula of free float is equals to EETH minus EETT minus duration. So you will get 18 minus 8 minus 5 equals to 5. So the answer for the free float of activity G is 5 weeks. Alright, for the last question on December 2018, question F. Calculate the earliest completion time if activity C is delayed by 6 weeks. If you can see, all duration equals to 8 and the new duration equals to 8 plus 6 equals to 14 weeks. Why? Why we want to plus 6? Because the question say activity C is delayed by 6 weeks. So if the question say delay by, we must do plus the old duration to get the new durations. So the answer for the new duration is 14 weeks. Next, we will continue to calculate the total float all first, which is LETH minus EETT minus durations. You will get 12 minus 0 minus 8 equals to 4 weeks. And the next, we will calculate the total float new. LETH minus EETT minus duration, you will get 12 minus 0 minus 14 equals to negative 2 weeks. So for the conclusions, if activity C is delayed by 6 weeks, the project will be delayed by 2 weeks and the new PCT, or stand for project completion time, is 22 plus 2 equals to 24 weeks.
Okay, for question A, construct the PERT diagram for the project. We know there is 9 activity given in the information, and activity A and activity B there is no preceding activity. So we know they can perform concurrently. That's why first we need to draw the first node, and we draw the arrow for A is 10 and B is 5. So we draw the arrow for C. B produce C, and we know A and C produce D. That's why A produce D. Okay, next, we know the information given is B produce E produce F, D produce G. Okay, here is B. We draw the arrow from node 3, B produce E11. Next, E produce F. We draw the node 5, we draw the arrow, and E8. Next, we know D produce G. Here, B and D. We cannot have 2B, so we change to dummy. B and D produce G9. Next, we know G produce H. H produce I. Okay, here is G. We draw the second node, which is not is represent an event. So G produce H. We draw the arrow for H7, and we know H produce I. We have F here and H. So we draw the seed event and produce I10. B. Calculate the earliest and latest event time for each event. Okay, we need to remember that EET we take the highest duration, LET we take the lowest duration. So we start with the first node. Remember, the first node is always start with 0. Okay, here, the first node we start with 0 and we plus 5. B, 0 plus 5 equal to 5. Next, 11. There is 2 activity for node 2 or event 2. So 5 plus 6 equal to 11. 0 plus 10 equal to 10. So we need to remember that EET we take the highest. That's why I choose 11 here. Next, 11 plus 8 equal to 19. Okay, we have a same situation as A and C. So we have F and H here. So 19 plus 8 equal to 24. 28 plus 7 equal to 35. So which one we want to select? Of course, the highest, which is 35. So we put 35 here. 35 plus 10 equal to 45. That is for EET. Okay, next, we need to calculate the LET. We start with 45 because we follow the EET. EET is 45, so LET is 45. 45 minus 10 equal to 35. 35 minus 7 equal to 28. Okay, this is the crucial part, which is there is 3 activity for 1 event. So here, 27 minus 11 equal to 16. 19 minus 0. We know that dummy is 0, so 19 minus 0 is 19. Next, 11 minus 6 equal to 5. So we have 3 here, which is 5, 19, 16. So which one we want to select? Of course, 5 because 5 is the lowest. Next, we know 5 minus 5 equal to 0. 11 minus 10 equal to 1. So which one we want to select? Of course 0, because 0 is lower than 1. Okay, next, for question E, we know that critical path is the longest path of the project. So it is 0 because we need to take the same value of EET and LET. Here, 0, 0, 11, 11, 5, 5, 19, 19, 28, 28, 35, 35, and 45, 45, I'm sorry. So the critical path is 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 6, and 8. And the critical activity is A, B, C, D, G, H, and I.
Now I'm very tired. Question D. Compute the compilation time of the project. So, As you can see, yes, we calculated is 45 weeks. Alright, question E, calculate float. So what is float? Float is the total amount of spare time for each activity in the network. For total float, LET of the head node minus with EET of the tail node and minus with duration of the activities. So 11 minus 5 minus 6 equals to 0 week. That's all. Next one, free float for activity F. Alright, so for free float, EET of head node minus with EET of the tail node and minus with duration of the activity. Okay, so 35 minus 16 minus 8 equals to 11 weeks. Alright, so for activity E down there, it is just the same. 16 minus 5 equals to 11 equals to 0 weeks. That.
Alright guys, so let's start with the first question of April 2011. Draw the appropriate PERT diagram. As we can see, we have 11 activity here, and activity A, activity B, activity C doesn't have any predecessor. We draw the first node, okay, the first node, and then we make an arrow for activity A, activity B, and activity C, and then close it with node 2, node 3, and node 4. Next, activity D have predecessor, which is A. So from node 2, okay, we make an arrow for activity D and close it with node 5, okay. Then for activity E, the predecessor came from the same tail node, which is A, which is activity A and activity B. So we must draw a dummy, okay. From node 2, we draw a dummy to node 3 to combine it with activity B and draw an arrow for activity E and close it with node 6. Next, activity F. The predecessor is E, okay, so we draw an arrow from node 6 and close it with node 7. Predecessor for activity G is D, so we make an arrow from node 5 and close it as node 8, okay. Then for activity H, the predecessor is F, so we draw an arrow from node 7 to node 8 to produce activity I. Since the predecessor for this activity are G and H, okay, so we draw an arrow from node 8 and close it as node 9. Then for activity J, the predecessor is C, okay. So we draw an arrow from node 4 to node 9 to produce activity K. Since the predecessor for activity K are I and J, and finally we draw the line for activity K from node 9 and close it as node 10. Alright guys, for the second question, calculate the earliest start and the latest start time for each event. So as we know, for EET, we take the highest duration, and LET, we take the lowest duration. So let's start. First node always be 0, okay, as you can see. So for activity A, 0 plus 3 equals to 3, and activity C, 0 plus 7 equals to 7. For node 3, as you can see, we have two activity, which is 0 plus 9 equals to 9, and also 3 plus 0 equals to 3, okay, which is 0 represented by dummy, okay. So we choose the highest one. Which one? Of course 9, okay. So for the others, it's just the same. If there is two activity to one head tail, we must choose the highest one, okay. Alright, next is EET. We must start it backward. From node 10, there is only one node tail, which is 9, okay. So we minus 60, minus 9 equals to 51. Then for node 9, there is two activity, okay. Okay, 2. So we must minus 51 with both number, okay, which is 15 and also 14, and equals to 37 and 36, okay. The others is the same, but we move to the node 2, 3, and 4, okay, which share the same node tail, which is node 1, okay. So we must choose the lowest answer after we calculate it, okay. So as we can see, activity B have the lowest answer with 9 minus 9 equals to 0. So we choose it, okay. So we must choose the lowest one. Okay, I give it to Aish, okay.
Thank you, Shah. Next, I'll continue with question C. Calculate the project completion time. As we can see in the diagram before, the project completion time for this question is 60 weeks. We will move on to question D. Identify the critical activities. To identify the critical activities, we must find the activities that have the same number of EET and LET. So, in this question, the critical activities is B, E, F, H, I, and K. Next, we will continue with question E. Calculate the free float and independent float for activity D. To calculate the free float for activity D, we will be using the formula EET head minus EET tail minus duration, and we will get 15 minus 3 minus 12 equal to 0 weeks. Then, we will move on to independent float by using the formula EET head minus LET tail minus duration. We will get 15 minus 9 minus 12 equal to negative 6 weeks. Lastly, we will compute the project completion time if activity I is delayed by 4 weeks. So, we will need to calculate the total float or duration by using the formula LET head minus EET tail minus duration, and we will get 51 minus 37 minus 14 equal to 0 weeks. Then, we will calculate the total float new duration by using the same formula as above. So, we will get 51 minus 37 minus 18, which is the new duration, and we will get negative 4 weeks. So, the conclusion is, if activity I is delayed by 4 weeks, the project will be delayed by 4 weeks, and the new project completion time will be 64 weeks.
MGT345 is absolutely fun, so study hard, don't waste your time.